Last week was a crazy week for Bitcoin and we created a new all-time high of $93,000, which was insane of course. Then we saw a lot of consolidation happening and now we're seeing the spike to the top side again and we're bouncing back up to the $92,000, so this is a very beautiful start of the week. However, there are some huge interesting signals nobody is looking at, and in this video I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know for Bitcoin for this week and how you can prepare for the next move. There is a lot of interesting news and data coming into the market which I will share with you in this video. So you want to watch this video all the way to the end, because I'm also going to have a look at the two altcoins Solana and Dogecoin, because they are also showing a lot of interesting price action. So please like this video because it will help this channel a lot, and let's dive right into the charts. Earlier this weekend I said that Bitcoin opened the CME gap at $91,750, and I think that we will see a close of this gap shortly after the weekend close. And if we have a look at the chart, we can see that Bitcoin was grinding a little bit downwards and that we saw a little bit of a decrease from the CME gap around this level. And now we are seeing this pump to the top side and we're closed the gap perfectly. So this is looking very beautiful for Bitcoin. And now Bitcoin can trade freely during the weekend. So as I was saying, I thought that Bitcoin will close the gap shortly after the weekend close. And that's exactly what Bitcoin did. So we can now see just the price moving freely during the week, because from the last week we still haven't CME gap open, and that is around the $76,532. And the last weekend we saw a huge pump on Sunday, so this gap hasn't been closed yet. As we can see here on the higher time frame, we didn't come back to this level yet, so probably Bitcoin can see a close of this gap maybe in the coming weeks. But however, this could be that gap that doesn't get closed, just like we saw earlier in the history of Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin will just trade around this level, and if Bitcoin can hold the $91,000, then we can see more upside momentum in this coming week. And last week we saw a huge pump for Bitcoin and we came to the huge all-time high of $93,000, which was an insane all-time high of course. And after that we saw a lot of consolidation happening and a lot of price action happening, and this huge horizontal level was acting as resistance first, but then after we broke it, we touched this as support, we broke below it, and then we broke above it again, and now we are retesting it as support again, and we are seeing a bounce from this level. So this was a very perfect trade to make for Bitcoin. So after this huge bounce, we also created this huge bullish gain of this level, and this resistance level was the big resistance level for Bitcoin to break on the 1 hour time frame. So potentially we can now see a continuation of the bullish price action for Bitcoin, and let's see if we can also create a new all-time high, because we are very close now. So today this could be the next move for Bitcoin, and keep in mind that the previous all-time high could also be a huge resistance level, because a lot of people will place their limit orders over there, and we could potentially then see a little bit of a throwback to test lower levels again. And Michael Saylor yesterday posted this tweet about their DCA portfolio of MicroStrategy, and he said that I think that SaylorTracker.com needs even more green dots, and he indicates then that he will buy more. And if we have a look at this portfolio tracker for MicroStrategy, we can see that every time we see a green dot, it means that MicroStrategy was DCAing into Bitcoin. So this is the perfect DCA portfolio, and he bought at the lows, but he also bought at the tops. And let's see if we can buy another time, because it will push the price of Bitcoin even more of course. So he will again buy the top, but it doesn't matter because he's just DCAing into Bitcoin. And currently they are holding for $25.6 billion in Bitcoin. So this is insane of course. And our total profit is almost for $13.7 billion. So I think Michael Saylor will go down as one of the best investors in history ever. And during the weekend I've been posting this huge Bitcoin consolidation on a 4 hour time frame, and I was saying to you that we could see a huge breakout very soon, and this was a typical continuation pattern. So I think we will see a huge break to the top side after we saw this huge run up, then a consolidation. So I thought that we will see a huge bullish continuation of the price. And if we then have a look at the chart, we can now see that Bitcoin is finally breaking out of this huge consolidation. We are seeing this huge bullish momentum. So let's see if this 4 hour candle can close above this resistance area, and if it does, then we can confirm the breakout. But then we can potentially see a little bit of a throwback to retest this level as support, and from there we can aim for higher targets. So if we can see a confirmation of the breakout, I'm waiting for a retest of this resistance to turn it into support, and from there we can enter the market again in a long. So this breakout for Bitcoin is looking very bullish, and let's see if we can see a new all-time high for Bitcoin this week, because this continuation pattern could bring Bitcoin to $100,000 this week. And last week we saw a huge inflows into the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs. Only the last 2 days of the week were a little bit bearish, of course. But in the first part of the week we saw more than 2 billion of inflows. So this was having a very bullish effect on the price of Bitcoin. And in total we saw this huge total cumulative inflow spiking to the top side. And this is of course very bullish to see. And the Ethereum ETFs also are waking up. We saw a huge inflows in the beginning of the week, but in the end of the week a little bit of outflows. So let's see what these ETFs can bring us this week. And will they pump up the price for Bitcoin and Ethereum again this week? And if we then zoom out to the daily time frame, we can see that Bitcoin is in this huge parabolic uptrend to the top side. And this is of course a very interesting move to see. And we're seeing that every time we touch this lower side support, we saw a beautiful bounce to the top side. So we could potentially see a little bit of a throwback for Bitcoin, that we're coming back to this huge parabolic uptrend and then maybe see a little bit of a retest. So for instance, let's say that if Bitcoin comes back to this region, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin, because I think when we are touching this huge area, and it could be here or it could be there, I think Bitcoin will see a next exponential move to the top side. And from there, we can see maybe the new all-time high getting formed, and we will pump above the $100,000. So for now, it looks like that Bitcoin is going to see that exponential move before we are going to touch it. So that's also okay, of course. But if Bitcoin is going to come back to this region, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin. And looking at this chart where Bitcoin shifted from this huge downtrend into an uptrend in the last months, we are now seeing this exponential move to the top side. We created this higher high for Bitcoin on the chart. But of course, in an uptrend, we also create higher lows. And that could also be a very interesting moment to enter the market for Bitcoin again. Because in an uptrend, I'm going to buy every dip, and especially in a bull market. So nobody knows if Bitcoin is going to create a higher low. But if it does, it could be around this level, it could be around this level or this level. As long as it is higher than this higher low, and then we can just continue the bullish uptrend to the top side. So for instance, let's say that if Bitcoin is coming to the $80,000, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin. And every time Bitcoin is coming a little bit lower, I'm going to buy more and more and more. And because I think Bitcoin will eventually go above the $100,000. So every time we see a little bit of a correction for Bitcoin, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin for the long term. And if we then zoom out all the way to the monthly time frame, we can see that in hindsight we saw this beautiful consolidation formation. We saw this bullish break of October, but November is even more bullish. And look at this monthly candle of November. This is an insane candle, of course, and we're also already seeing an increase of 30%. So Q4 is very bullish for Bitcoin. And let's see if we can see a continuation of this momentum, and that even December is going to be more bullish. So in hindsight, we saw this huge all-time highs getting formed in the last cycle. Then we broke above it, we retested this previous resistance as support, and from there we saw a huge bullish move. And from the retest of this support, you could have entered the market in the long, as I've been telling you in the last months, and you could have made an increase of 56%. So this was a very beautiful trade to make on Bitcoin. So congratulations if you took this trade together with me, because I was bullish at this downtrend, and you could have been entering the market for Bitcoin, and then we are now in huge profit. So this was a very beautiful trade to make for Bitcoin. And the first interesting altcoin, I want to have a look at the Solana. I've been talking about Solana in the last months with you when we were in this range, and we saw huge interesting levels occurring. So every time we broke above this level, I saying that you have to wait for a retest to test the resistance as support. And every time we did it, I was entering the market for Solana in a long. And then we came to the next big resistance, and we took a little bit of profits. But from this huge bullish retest, you could have made an interesting gain of 51%. And Solana is now surging to the top side. And if we then zoom out to the weekly time frame, we can see that Solana is coming closer to the previous all-time high, and that is around $260. So we are now so close to this previous all-time high. So let's see if Solana can break through this all-time high in this week, and that of course will be very bullish. So this is the last huge resistance for Solana to break, and if we're potentially coming back to this previous all-time high, we could either see a break to the top side, a retest of the resistance to test as support, then a continuation of the price. And if we break above it, we have to wait for a confirmation of this weekly candle, and then if we're coming back to test the previous all-time high, I'm very much interested in going long on Solana. But of course, there's also a bearish scenario possible that we're going to see a huge rejection from this level. And I think a lot of people will place their orders at the previous all-time high, and from there they will sell Solana. So we could potentially see a bearish or a bullish scenario play out. And let me know in the comments if you still hold Solana in your portfolio and what your thoughts about Solana are for the future. And another interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Dogecoin. Also in the last months we can see some similar price action just like Solana, and we were trading in this huge range. And as I was saying in the last months, when we were in this falling wedge for Dogecoin, we finally saw a breakout, and then we saw a nice uptrend unfolding, and we're now seeing this exponential move to the top side. And if we then zoom in on the 1 hour time frame, I was telling you yesterday that we could see a huge breakout for Dogecoin, and that we could see a huge price explosion happening for Dogecoin in the coming hours. So this was a huge warning. If we have a look at the charts, we can see that Dogecoin is finally breaking out of this huge falling wedge formation. So potentially we could see a little bit of a throwback to test the previous resistance as support. From there, I'm much interested in going long on Doge. And then we can aim for higher levels, and the top side of the formation will be confluent with the breakout target, and that will be around the 44 cents. So currently we are at the 37 cents, so that could be a very interesting trade for Dogecoin to make. And if we're going to see a potential retest from here, then you can enter the market from this bullish retest and you can make more than a 20% increase. So this is looking very bullish for Dogecoin. And I think that Dogecoin will see levels around this 50 cents before the end of 2024. And let me know in the comments if you are still bullish on Dogecoin. So please give a like if you think this video was useful. Don't forget to follow me on my other socials. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.